the summertime. And that's not Zoom for summer school. That could be summer camp and expanding opportunities for summer camp. So it's not just rich white kids going to cool summer camps, but that it's all kids going to summer camps where there's enriching activities, leadership development, along with learning, so that we can close these gaps. But yeah, to me, the short term is trying to, one, stop the COVID slide, stop the expansion of the achievement gaps. Get kids back into school. The president wants to have the majority of K-8 schools open within the first 100 days. But let's not miss this opportunity to rethink how we do things, so that 10 years from now, I feel like we've been having this conversation for forever, but 10 years from now, we really should not be talking about achievement gaps and opportunity gaps in the way that we're talking about them today.
Right. And along those lines, I think that in the short term, definitely agree with Philippe. I think that we have to make sure that we go back to normal. Also with transparency and making sure that our leadership at the school districts are understanding the needs of our teachers, the needs of our school members, support personnel, bus drivers. We don't talk about those, but they are as critical as any other individual in the school system. And then, of course, making sure that our families are feeling safe to bring their kids back to school. I think that right now the notion of only having one teacher or one student exposed to COVID, it's way too much risk. And we have to make sure that our parents and our families are really understanding they're safe and that there is some measurements in place that could help them to really transition into going back into mortal break instruction if they want to. Again, with having the option of having an online learning platform that they could join if they feel like it's more safe for them. So that is my answer when it comes into short term. And I think something connected to short term and long term, it's how we appreciate our teachers. I think that this conversation right now that we having about the future of education and how we could reinvent it, it also has to be with how we elevate the position of teachers in our system. Because more than ever, many parents, again, talking about the I would say the catalyzer, which is the parents, which are the parents, they are helping to make sure that people understand that teachers are the most important part of our systems. And if we don't take care of them, and if we don't make sure that they have the proper PPP, if they don't have the proper accommodations, if they don't have the proper salaries, they're just going to leave the profession. There is teachers right now that are saying, you know what, I'm not doing this. This is way too much for me. And this is not what I signed up for. There is teachers that got trained during the summer for the new semester, and they were not paid for that training. They just went through it because they believe in what they do. This teaching profession is about transforming lives every day. Who doesn't want to do that? But I think that we have to elevate that conversation, and we have to bring the community in the long term to talk about that, to see how, and I keep saying this here in South Florida, our teachers are heroes. Like someone that went to war and sacrificed themselves for the country should have, teachers should have the same treatment as them, and they heroes. Every teacher that retires should have something in their community where we remember. Because what happens when they talk about LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Steve Jobs or whatever, they always ask about who was your teacher when you were growing up, because that's the person who shaped the personality and character of that person. So I hope that in the short term we come back to making more a safe space for people to go back to schools if they need to, but you also give them options in the short term, the 100 days from the K to 8, but in the long term that we really start having conversations about transforming our educational system, but also transforming the way that we view the teachers in the classroom.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with, the work that has to happen in parallel form, right? It's not, let's just work on this and think about that later. It's we've got some things that we've got to be working on simultaneously. And the teacher retention, I heard a stat today that I don't know if it was NEA, I think it was NEA who put out a survey that just came out like within this week, where it said something like 26% they were looking at as losing teachers. 26% of our teacher workforce. And we started out this series talking about how, when it comes to not just elevating the profession, but thinking about what kind of an impact is that going to have. Our educational system in many communities is the largest employer. And so we have to start to really do a pivot, if you will, on how do we elevate, retain, but also given the fact that not everything can cut this. With that, I don't know what else we have to cut it off at some point. We've gone over our time limit, but I'll tell you what, I couldn't think of two other people that I wouldn't want to have this chit chat along with, and I'm sure we're going to continue this conversation. And I really, really thank you guys for both for spending your time with us, and definitely going to start pointing people to our YouTube on this particular segment so that they can actually hear the information you've both been able to bring to the table. For that, I thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for the invitation.
And I hope you had as much fun as I did.
Definitely.